Oh, man, that's a good sounding guitar. Ladies and gentlemen, we have breaking news. You like that, Gabe? Check that out. Ready? Ladies and gentlemen, we
Look at
have
these graphics.
breaking news. All
Wow.
right. Bob Taylor's on.
That
Bob Taylor's
2025
on.
budget raise.
I know. We got to raise. We got a budget. We got a budget. Just you ready? Check this out. Welcome to the show.
Oh, man.
Oh,
That
We
is
have-
pulling out
that
all
is
the stops.
fancy.
Breaking news.
I love this.
What,
Ladies and
what is
gentlemen.
this show? I don't even recognize it.
Yeah,
You know what this show is.
that is
And
fancy.
let's start it. Yes.
You know,
Woohoo.
Andy Lund is in town, and we
Andy Lund
probably
is in
shoulda-
town. Hold
we
on.
Should have had him play the intro.
Hold on. Well, let me see if I got something. Do I have something? I don't. Hold on. Well, you know what? Breaking news. Andy Lund is going to join the show on August 26th. Our friend,
Yeah.
one of our co-conspirators here, man. He helped build this show and start the show way back in 2020 when we started it. Andy Lund will be here August 26th, and he may perform the intro live.
That'd be awesome.
That's sort
Yeah.
of a non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable. We already told him. He said, "All right, I'll learn how to play it again.
Yeah, it feels like he kind of has to be, right?
I'll learn how to play it." That's what. That's how he said it. All right, Mike. It's episode 120. What does that mean?
That means 119 things were complete, and now we have started the 120th, the Centennial plus 20 episode of this show with Mr. Bob Taylor.
Man, I can't believe you guys have done 120 shows.
We've
Yeah.
done 120 shows, Bob. I can't believe that we just did 100, and Ben Harper still hasn't sent the autograph record that we promised somebody. But I hooked him up with the winner with a prize pack. I gave him some T-shirts and a hat and stuff like that. But one of these days, with Ben stops touring, we'll get that autograph record for you. I promise.
It's going to totally turn into our apologies to Matt Damon. We've run out of time.
We've run out of
You know,
time.
It's totally going to be.
I love it.
That's
Do-
exactly it. Apologies
here
to Matt
for it.
Damon. Right. Bob, welcome back. We are so excited to have you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about the Legacy Collection, Bob Taylor's Legacy Collection tonight. We're going to learn everything there is to know about it or not. At the end, we're going to have some Q&A, so we might not get to all of that Q&A. If you could start throwing your questions in the comments, we'll get to those if we have time at the end. So, Bob, you haven't been on the show in a while.
Yeah.
We started to do something in the beginning of the show up front here where we have our friend Chad, also known as ChatGPT, write an intro or a description about our guest. So we had our friend ChatGPT, Chad, write something about you, and I'd like to read that real quick if you don't mind.
All right.
This is a good one, by the way. Bob Taylor, one of the co-founders of Taylor Guitars. All right, that's true.
That's
Fact
true.
checked that. Gabe, is that correct?
That seems right on so far.
Okay.
Yeah, so far so good.
Gabe knows.
Gabe knows. So I want to know if Gabe, is this next comment or statement correct as well? He's not just the name on the headstock. He's a master luthier, an author, a trailblazing innovator, and a tree-saving rebel with a cause. Is that?
Man, I'm rebellious.
Yeah,
I know you're totally
Look
rebellious.
at me. Just look at
All
me.
right.
You can
Bob
tell.
Taylor, ready? This one's so good. Bob Taylor is the Steve Jobs of acoustic guitars, but way nicer and way more into trees.
I love chat.
ChatGPT is
he's
awesome.
way more into trees for sure.
He's way more into trees.
Absolutely more into trees.
A guy who turned a woodshop skills into a global company without losing his love for the craft. Someone who thinks 100 years into the future. I like that one. about forests, musicians, and the planet. Here's to Bob, the man who planted trees, built dreams, and made guitars sing louder, longer, and greener. Gabe,
Thank you,
fact,
Chad. That was
fact
pretty
check
good.
that. Gabe?
All correct.
All correct,
And that is
right.
quite an intro for sure.
A lot of
That-
it's opinion, but
Okay, chat has a good opinion of you, Bob.
I just had a script that I had to read, and when I was done reading it, it was already recorded. I thought, man, I need to get a script that was written more for the way someone talks rather than the way somebody reads, because they're a bit different. So I had a nice little time with chat. My prompt was this big old long gripe. Like I just griped for that long on my phone. And then I said, so I want to write this thing in a way that would be how I would talk. And and I told him that my favorite orator was Matthew McConaughey. So the first thing we did was we made a Matthew McConaughey filter. And it was awesome. It totally redid the whole entire thing. It was so speakable, right? And then I go, okay, well, I like that. Well, actually, that was the second one. The first one was, can you make it more conversational, like the way a person would talk? And then after that, it's okay, now make it sound like Matthew McConaughey. And then it did that. And I said, okay, now take some of the Southern drawl out of it. And then it took some of the other things I didn't like out. Okay, well, take all of the words like nothing and doing and wanting and put the G back in, but leave all the rest. And then it did it, and it was totally awesome. So me and Curlin were talking. It's okay, well, we're going to have chat, listen to, the blog, what do we call that? The podcast of that, and get to know how I talk. And then we're going to marry me and Matthew McConaughey, and it's going to be our new scriptwriter.
Look, man. Oh, you had me at all right.
All right.
Matthew McConaughey. My wife bought the Matthew McConaughey book just so that I would read it aloud like Matthew McConaughey. It was a good time while the book lasted. I loved it. Instead of this or that, or what are you listening to, we have a new game that we're going to play. I just don't have a graphic, so look. Breaking news: we have a new game we're going to play. I love this great breaking.
Well,
news
this is more of a semi competition.
It is a competition. I don't know who wins what. Maybe they'll win an autographed copy of Ben Harper's latest record.
Apologies to the winner in advance.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. So you guys are going to get an autographed copy of
I would
Ben
love
Harper's
an
new
autograph copy
Yeah,
of Ben Harper's record.
It's so good. All right. So we'll work on that. I'll work on that. Instead of this or that, I play a game with between Bob and Gabe. They knew this after I told them, but if somebody sends me a question about an older Taylor guitar, sometimes someone will shoot me a photo of a guitar on a text, and it'll be like, what is this guitar? I often will ask Gabe and Bob at the same time to see who knows the answer fastest, right? Sometimes it works out for me, and sometimes I'm waiting for a while, but often it's so close, right? And it's so close sometimes, Gabe, I haven't even told you this. You will type the text back to me exactly how Bob texts back to me. Like, it's the same. One time it was like a 79 510 or something like that, and you're like, I think it was it was the exact same text message. It was great. So we're gonna do that in real time for you guys. We're gonna ask Gabe and Bob a question, and we're gonna see who knows more. Right?
My money's on Gabe.
My money's on Gabe. My money's
I
kind of
doubt
on
it.
Gabe too, but then yeah. Anyway, we'll get there. All right.
I doubt it. I don't know. I'm pretty good with models, like when I see them, because there's attributes I'm pretty good at spotting wood, although not nearly as good as Bob, I'm sure, but I'm pretty good with like attributes, like knowing that the pinless, the smiley shaped bridge would be, what years that existed or what years there were pinless bridges around. Like those things, those telltale things, I can kind of figure out usually, but I don't know, man.
You guys ready for this?
I'll do my best.
right,
I'm not
here.
afraid.
All right, Bob's not afraid.
Don't fear the Reaper.
Gabe's not afraid. All right, question number 1. What was the first guitar model to feature a Florentine cutaway?
Oh man, a Florentine cutaway.
Very first one was a 915 CE custom Taylor that we made for Phil Crockett.
There
See,
you go.
now here's the challenge.
I had no idea. So
This before Gabe was born.
Here's the thing, Mike. What if the answer is different here?
What? Well, then
Bob's right.
Bob
I
gets
promise.
the merit
right.
if it's wrong. But Bob is always right because he built the darn thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what our research is. This is what ChatGPT said.
Is this the fact checker here?
This is
Oh,
what
no.
This is what Curlin GPT said.
Oh,
Yeah.
Curlin GPT said K12 CE made for Chris Proctor.
No, that's wrong.
I love it.
I was gonna guess a 512 for Chris Proctor.
So Jim lost a point.
But are you
Jim?
if you're talking, well, that was a custom guitar for Chris Proctor, but this guitar was made in early Lemon Grove.
Early Lemon
That
Grove.
guitar in my office.
this
All
guitar,
right.
this guitar was made in Lemon Grove.
Yeah.
All right. I'm putting.
Not only that, you want to hear a story?
Yes.
Sure.
Always.
The way we made Chris Proctor's cutaway was we built a guitar with the shape with no cutaway. We put the braces under the fingerboard at a little tiny bit of an angle. And then after the guitar was done, we took a big bite out of it with a bandsaw. Drew marked where the cutaway is and literally sawed the hole in it. Then we put the kerf lining on the inside, on the top and the back. And then I made a tool that you could sand that. And then we bent the piece of wood and applied the cutaway after the body was made, instead of bending the sides with the cutaway in it. And that guitar that I told you about, that was the first one, was a guitar that Kurt Listock made the body for. And we had built the sides with the cutaway in it. And then Kurt sanded the wood too thin. And it was German maple, abalone, all of this stuff. And it was really, the guitar was ruined. And so I just had to go home and think about it. And so I came back and I made a little spindle sander and I sanded the side. He sanded it too thin. So I just sanded it away. And it exposed. I didn't sand the kerfing away. I didn't sand anything. I just removed the thin side and replaced it with a new piece. And that became the way that we made all Florentine cutaways from that point on. Like, hey, that mistake invented a way of doing it. And because of that, for the guitar geeks out there, we could build any guitar and then we put the cutaway in afterwards. But we could put it here for a 1 11/16 neck, or here for a 1 3/4, or here for a 12 string, and it could go on any body shape, or we could make a left-handed guitar and put it on the other side. So that one simple jig allowed us to make a cutaway on every single guitar we made, all brought to you by Kurt sanding the cutaway piece too thin, and me having to figure out how to save our month's rent on that guitar.
Wow.
So Kurt is the answer.
Yeah, I think we have a patent in Kurt's name.
That's
You know, he had to build it with the cutaway in it and sand it away first. I just eliminated that step later. But I think that's a pretty cool story.
Oh, yeah.
that's incredible. Don't we have that guitar, right,
We
in our
do.
possession? Yeah.
Yeah.
So now,
I bought it back from the guy because he had a whole collection of our guitars. Local guy. He was a friend of Kurt's, and he's our age, and he has arthritis, and he needed a guitar that's easier to play. And he's just like, this guitar's got to go somewhere. I go, well, how about into our museum, right? It's pretty cool.
Oh, wow. I love it. All right. Well, let's see if this next one lands. Because that first one, I cannot wait to razz Jim and Jordan tomorrow. Mike, it's going to be so good. All right.
Yes, indeed. So let's go to the columns. Bob won, Gabe none.
Yeah, okay. Bob won, Gabe none. What were the first guitar models to feature cedar tops as a standard option?
I'm going to have to say the Grand Auditorium, like the GA.
Yeah, I would have to say the 514 CE and the
Well, the 514 CE came with it standard. It wasn't an option. It's the
Yeah.
way it made it. Is that what you're getting at there?
Yeah.
Jay?
Yep. Yep. What were the first guitar models, plural, to feature cedar tops as a standard option?
Standard option. How could something be standard and an option? Same.
Yeah.
That's funny. See, they wrote this, Bob. This is so great. What we're doing is
I want to say 514 and 714, but I don't know if they're the same year or if the 512 came with cedar before the 714. I'm
Well,
going
the
to go
20th
with 514.
anniversary was the first
Yeah.
guitar that became the 514. That was year 20. And there was a rosewood with spruce, mahogany with cedar. It was non-cutaway.
Yeah.
And then we came out with the 514 CE after that, which was a Venetian cutaway. And that model came standard with a cedar top. What about 714? Was it cedar top too? I mean, I should know that. It's a late.
For a long time it was.
Yeah.
Do you want the answer on paper?
Yeah.
Sure.
This,
yeah.
this would
The
be the
answer on
Jim
paper.
answer. This is the Jim answer.
This is the Jim answer on paper. 712 and a 714
Yeah, I'd go along
From
with
1998,
from
specifically.
1998.
I'd go along with that.
Yeah.
The year I got out of the Army. Here we go.
That
All right.
tracks.
That
Because I
tracks.
know I know
Wait,
I've
98? That's past 20 years.
yeah.
So it
No.
said standard option. Does that mean just a standard?
I think that, I just have to go to my cousin Vinny and just say, this is a BS question.
Awesome. Okay, so both of you get a point.
Like I know the 714 in like 1994 would have been like 94, 95 would have been spruce top for sure.
First up.
I think Mona Lisa Vito needs to answer this question.
Okay, fine. So they both get a point. Jim and Jordan lose
Jim
another point.
Jim has lost 2 points. Bob has 2 points. Gabe has 1 point.
Okay, so Jim and Jordan. We can't leave producer Jordan out.
No, they're a team of deficiency.
He works at typing these questions on paper for me. So, okay.
Well, you
Question
gotta
number.
admit,
Yeah,
our guitars morph from one thing to another all the time. Who can keep track?
that's true. We might get into that in a little bit.
Yeah.
Indeed.
All right. Question number 3. What was the first guitar to feature the Cindy inlay?
Oh. Well, so the first guitar for sure was a custom guitar. It was a custom build. The first production guitar was the 912.
He's absolutely right. Notice how I just sat back and let him do it?
Yeah. Gabe knows everything about that Cindy inlay. He's got to answer that question
It's the
100 times a
best
day.
inlay. It's awesome. The story is so good, and naming an inlay after your wife is such a win. I can't do things that cool, so my wife just gets stuck with a guy who knows a lot of Taylor trivia, I guess.
Well, I will say, not take anything away from my wife, but the public named out. That was a public.
That's right.
That was crowdsourced name because I made that Koa guitar for the listeners. I had to. The person who photographed our wedding, my wife said, I want him to do a photograph of you making a guitar, a portrait. And so the day came and I was to be working on a guitar, but the guitar I was working on was a guitar that I was making as a gift for my wife. It was a grand concert, Koa guitar, top, back, and sides, cool rosewood binding with little blue lines on it, on the purflings. And then I'd made the Cindy inlay. And there's a little story behind the Cindy inlay too. However, when it came time to go to a NAMM show, we're like, hey, we need a fancy guitar and we don't have one. Can we borrow that? And so I think for probably 3 or 4 or more years, every NAMM show, we would just borrow Cindy's guitar, which has lived its life inside a case. And we'd take it and hang it up. And then people say, what's this inlay called? Well, Bob made it for his wife. It's just a custom guitar. What's his wife's name? Cindy. And it kind of just happened, kind of like the NT neck. We didn't sit down and name it. It just got named, you know?
Yeah. Well, there you go. Shortly after the show tonight, we are launching a deep conversation on YouTube, same YouTube channel. You're on our channel right now with Bob and Jim Curlin talking all about the Cindy inlay. He tells a longer version of the story. They get into a deep discussion about the 914 CE. So it's really exciting.
Cool.
So after that, stick around and watch. All right. So Jim's answer was the 1992 912 CE and 914 CE. That was the answer. So
he's right.
All right. So Bob,
everybody gets a point.
Yeah.
Bob.
Yeah, but we said 9. Did you say 912, Gabe, or 954?
Yep.
Gabe, you're muted.
Good job, man.
You're muted, Gabe.
My bad. I did, yeah.
Good job.
Bob has 3 points. Gabe has 2 points because we gave you both a gimme. All right. Question number 4. In what year did the grand concert get introduced to the lineup?
Oof.
I'm going to say 83.
Gabe?
But I don't remember years. But I'm saying 83.
I'm really bad at years, and I'm trying to remember this too. Ooh.
Gabe?
I'm gonna say 84.
Just
because the Detroit Tigers won the World Series, and
That is-
remember that.
No, I don't know why. It just sounds like from editing the podcast. It just sounds right in my head. I don't know why.
Jim's answer: Winter NAMM 1984. Bob's also right-ish because we developed it in 1983.
Yeah, this is where things are tricky.
Yeah, so Bob
Introduce the public just barely into 19.
No, this one goes to Gabe. It's
All right.
So barely
Fair.
though.
All right. Okay.
So it's tied.
It is
We're
now tied
3-3.
3-3.
Now we have the rubber match here. We got the very last question.
All right. What grand concert models were they
Oh,
in 1984? Which grand concert models were they?
I think grand concert models. With what? Oh, the first grand concert model?
Yeah, the first. So the lead question, the prior question was, in what year did the grand concert get introduced? So 1984. And then the follow-up question is, what grand concert models were they?
that's what it had to have been, like a Maple 912, right?
I'm thinking it was a Rosewood 912 and a K12.
Yeah, I have no point of reference for this other
Me
than
either.
I know some early made 900s were Maple, but I don't know what came, when that guitar came out, what they would. I'm gonna call Maple 912 and maybe 812.
And
Best
Bob
guess.
says, what
That
did
is
Bob
a
say?
guess.
Bob said K.
912 and a K12.
He's saying Rosewood 912 and a K12.
Okay. The answer that was provided by producer Jordan and
That's hard.
Jim
These are good
Curlin.
questions. These are deep cuts.
Deep cuts. Yeah.
Yeah, I like
Jim
these.
went deep. The answer is 512 and 812.
Aha.
I'm not going to argue with that.
Me neither. So
Okay.
I had 812 on my list, but I don't think I get that point. because I didn't get them both.
Okay.
We need a bonus question.
We need a
Yeah.
bonus question.
Yeah, that was
Mike?
a tough one. That was great. I love that question.
We need a bonus question, Mike. Would you like to take the bonus question, or would you like
Sure.
me to take the bonus question? Okay,
I'll
you
do it.
take the bonus
I
question.
got it. Ready, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What number am I thinking of? 1 to 10.
I'm going for 7.
4.
Bob is right. 7.
There you go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen,
Bob
Bob
wins.
knows more.
About everything, I'm positive. Very positive to say everything.
Oh man, that was good. That was good. All right,
That was
guys.
great.
That was great. Those were some deep cuts.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot wait to Raz Jordan is here. We could just razz him.
He's
Right
throwing him.
here.
He's throwing
He
himself
came up-
under
he
the
came
bus
up
in the
with some
chat.
Thumpers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some good stuff in there.
Oh, they're
Those
great
some-
questions. We just don't even know if they're right answers.
Yeah.
That's part of the
Do you
problem.
know how many times we've been wrong with the answers on the show? It's so
Oh,
good.
I'm
And then we
sure.
got to come back and go, let's go ask Bob.
Should have had
Usually-
Evan write all the questions.
We should
No,
have
I
Evan,
even
right?
need the lifeline on those questions.
Yeah, we should have given. Yeah, okay. So
Kurt remembers that stuff really well.
Kurt does. Yeah.
Kurt does have a steel
He's
trap
got
of
a great
memory.
memory for models.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was out there selling them, you know.
Right.
I was just making them, and I make guitars fast. Like, there was that one. Did it go by? What was it?
We had a long discussion, Bob. That's gonna, we're working on putting loosely right now. The project title is the Wood and Steel Podcast, where Jim is the host of the podcast, and then there's a bunch of usual suspect co-hosts. I help with a lot of the artist stuff, or some conversations. We had Scott Paul on recently as a co-host. We're doing some fun stuff, but we did an interview with Terry Myers before he left,
Mm-hmm.
and he was telling us a story about how when he started working at Taylor, he was just super fast at everything. And he just went into deep details about, and Bob just came around. He's like, why is you so fast? Just, you teach everybody how to do everything your way. Is that true?
Yeah, Terry had a neck. He also blew out both of his elbows and had carpal tunnel surgery on 2 hands. So
Yeah.
it didn't serve him right. And then of course that helped Breedlove Guitars get formed and started, because he went up there with Larry and
Yeah.
kind of recovered, and then they both found their way back home and
Yeah.
left their love child up there, Breedlove Guitars, who's now owned by Pete Rose, artist in Nashville. But I digress. Terry had a good knack for sanding a fingerboard when it's, we put the neck on the guitar and we put the frets in last, and we would look down the neck and sand out all the stuff and fret it. He was really good at that. He worked in
Yeah.
the assembly department. He had a knack. He still does today.
He still has it today, man. Can put a special sauce on a guitar setup in no time at all. And it's
Yeah,
really
does.
really special. We miss him. All right, let's dive into the
I need to-
legacy
I need
collection.
to finish editing that episode, don't I?
Yeah,
I'm about
we'll
halfway
get there.
through it.
We'll get there. We have a plan for it, so we'll get there. We're good to go. So this episode of Taylor Primetime, if you guys are not familiar with how this works, it's a talk show, as you can see. Sometimes we talk about guitars, and sometimes we talk about baseball. Before we talk about the Legacy Collection, that's why we have Bob Taylor here. I do want to give a special nod to somebody in the crowd here. EB said, "Cubs? ? Go Sox." This hat is for our boy Ryan Sandberg that we lost yesterday. Be it a baseball fan, we were all fans of Ryan Sandberg, even if you hated him. You look back and you're like, man, that guy was good. Even
Solid.
Gabe, as you can see, is a Cleveland Guardians fan. Remember 2016. Anyway, Gabe. But you were a Ryan Sandberg fan. I know you were. Everybody is. Anyway,
I'm a baseball fan.
You're a baseball
Rivalries
fan.
are friendly to me.
rivalries are friendly to me, but we lost a good one. And so today I'm wearing a Cubs hat. That's what this is for. Let's dive into the legacy collection. Bob, 50-year anniversary was last year. We worked through a few years of making a podcast talking about all of the early memories of Taylor guitars. We have a podcast, if you guys have not seen it. It's called American Dreamers, the 50 years of Taylor guitars. It's on wherever you listen to podcasts. It's on YouTube. All the episodes are up on YouTube on our channel. It's fascinating. But one of the things you started talking about early on in the recording sessions of those podcasts were some of the early models and some of your favorite models. And then, like a shake of the rug, 50-year anniversary comes around, and we launched this idea of the Legacy Collection. Right now, the Legacy Collection, if you guys aren't familiar with the Legacy Collection, these are some of Bob's most favorite instruments, I would say. We'll get into that in a second. These are some of the guitars that he's made in the past that are so popular and so beloved by people. Today's episode is brought to you by the new one, which released a few weeks back, the 914 CE. But the Legacy Collection, the models that we have currently in the Legacy Collection are the 810E, the 855, which is a jumbo shape, mustache bridge, the 815. So the 855 would be a 12-string jumbo shape. The 815E, 6-string version of that jumbo with a mustache bridge. The 714 CE, which is cedar and rosewood, correct? And the 514 CE, which is cedar mahogany. And now the 914 CE. Bob, what was your thought process behind wanting to develop this collection of guitars?
Well, our guitars have morphed and changed throughout the years, and we had, the aesthetics of them. Let's think of when I started this, some of the popular guitars we were making at the time and still now are, say, the Builder's Editions. B-class bracing had worked its way into most of the guitars we made. A different aesthetic of binding, inlays, and the guitars have slowly become Andy's guitars, which I love. But I just thought it's kind of interesting because we made a little video about the Legacy Collection, and so I had to ponder, what I thought about it. And in reality, I told the story of that. It's kind of like when you turn 18 or you turn 21, all of a sudden you feel different, right? You're like, I'm 21, that's something. That's like a real thing. So is 18. When you turn 17, you're like, oh, I'm 17. What's that? I don't know. Or maybe when I'm old, I'll turn 90 and everyone will show up to my birthday party, and then I'll turn 91 and no one will show up to any party.
That's true.
I'll just be sitting there watching reruns of Lost or, Yellowstone or something. So I thought, well, at 50, we actually have a heritage. There is a heritage. 50 years is long enough to talk about what we used to do. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool to make those models again? As close as I can to the way that we made them. In those days, we didn't have an NT neck, but, we sometimes refer it now as the Taylor neck. But it would have just been wrong to make those guitars without that neck because it's just a better neck. And but we did the style of bracing I did in those days and the style of binding and the aesthetics.
Yeah,
pretty cool. It just harkens back. So as a way to get those back in, especially for people who liked them and never got one, or who loved them and sold it and wished that they hadn't, or
the one that got away. Yeah,
it just got away, and they sound different. It's a different sound than what our guitars sound like now. So it's fun to do.
Yeah, it's really fun because it brings a tried and true Taylor flavor back into the collection of guitars that we have. We have our standard line, our standard collection. We have our legacy collection, Builder's Edition collection. The Builder's Edition is like the most innovative, craftsmanship on top of modern guitars, the most modern Taylor. We have a new collection called Gold Label. As you guys were on the show last week, if you guys watched, we had Trey Hensley talking about the Gold Label Grand Pacifics. By the way, real quick nod. I'd like to give John Lord a shout out from last week's episode. He went out and bought himself a 517, Gold Label 517.
That's
But
a nice
maybe,
guitar, man.
yeah, it's a really, really good guitar. So, as Bob says, there's a place for all of these guitars because there's different flavors. Not everybody likes the same thing. I love giving factory tours where I talk about, we've all said this. Bob has said this. I think I learned this from you. If you were in a room of 100 people and you said, raise your hand if you think Taylor guitars are the best sounding guitars in the world, acoustic guitars in the world, you might get half the room, maybe you don't, right? But if you say
35-40% maybe,
right, 35-40%, but if you say are Taylor guitars the best, most playable guitars, right, you're going to get more of the room, right? They're super playable. So to bring all of the new technology knack into these legacy instruments, brilliant. I loved it so much. I love these guitars. The 810, Bob, in the podcast you and Kurt talk about the 810. Why was that? What is so special about the 810 in the legacy or the history of Taylor guitars?
Well, maybe I'll start with being a kid watching the Johnny Cash show and watching him play this guitar, which I'd made guitars before I ever knew that was a Martin D35.
Right.
I see that dreadnought shape. I didn't know it was a dreadnought. I mean, I've told this many, many times. I knew nothing about guitars when I started making guitars. As far as I was concerned, I was like a Martian doing it for the first time. I'd never heard of Martin, never heard of Gibson. I'd never heard of Fender, hadn't heard of anything. I wasn't a guitar enthusiast. I never repaired a guitar. I just wanted a guitar, so I made it in wood shop, and I just kept doing it. And then I landed at the American Dream by the time I was 18, and American Dream didn't make Martin copies or Gibson copies, or, I learned what Sam Radding was doing, and he was an individual doing his own thing. And so the guitars that I was making I learned about all those guitars along the way. Now, I will say, after I graduated from high school, I had made 3 guitars by then, and they were in the shape of a Yamaha, because my friend had a Yamaha. It was a better guitar than my Coronet, which I paid $38 for. And so I traced around that. And they had different peg heads, and they were disasters. But one of them still lives in our showcase, still strung up, and you can still play it. But I went to a music store and I saw a Martin D18 for the first time in my life. And I'm like, wow, man, that guitar looks better than my guitars. I wish I could make a guitar like that. And if anybody out there makes guitars and they've finished a guitar, their first or second, their third guitar, they made it with a kit, and then they go look at a Taylor, you might know that feeling. It's like, man, I wish I could do it that clean, that nice. I sold a motorcycle. I went down, and for $450, I bought that guitar at Thurl's Music, and I loved it. I kept it for a while, had to sell it because I didn't have any money, but I started, and Sam made sort of a dreadnought. He made a dreadnought, but it was really square and kind of homely. And the first guitar I made for myself was that shape. And I remembered seeing that Johnny Cash show. He had a black guitar. It was a D35. It had white binding. And that thing just sort of struck me. I loved the way that it looked in his hands and when he was standing up. So my first 810, gosh, I don't remember the year I made it, but it must have been, I'm going to say 75. Maybe
I played it.
Yeah. I still have it. It's in the room behind me back there. And
yeah, I played it
forever. Oh, yeah.
Bob dropped that guitar off in this room. I was born in 1975. Bob dropped that guitar off in this room and said, I left it in the shed. You can go play it. And I remember coming down here. It was after work hours. And I just sat here and played that instrument till my wife started blowing up the phone and said, Are you coming home? And I said, yeah. Okay, here's what had happened. What had happened was Bob brought this guitar, and it doesn't mean anything to her at that moment, but then later on, she felt my joy for that guitar. So the 810, correct me if I'm wrong, that started the idea of series in Taylor Guitars history, right? So the 800 series being the first series of guitars.
Yeah, we made the 800 and the 500. No, maybe just the 800. Boy, I got to stop and think about it. This is where Kurt and I have to.
The
just
800 or
amongst
the 500s would have been
They came quickly after
yeah.
after we were using Rothschild Musical
Yeah.
as our distributor.
Yeah.
Going, boys, we need a less expensive guitar. So we made a 500, 700, a 600, a 500. The 600 and the 500 were the same guitar. Just one had a 2-ring rosette, one had a 3-ring rosette. It's like, oh, I can make it cheaper. You know, you're going to take the rings out. And by the way, since we were selling to a wholesaler who sold to a retailer who sold retail, and guitars were very expensive, when we made 510s, we sold them to that distributor for $150. I mean, there were guys getting $150 for a fret top in those days.
Really?
That's why I learned. That's when and where I learned how to make guitars quickly.
Right.
You know, like get her done.
Get her done. What do you say? Guitar's bad, money good. Money good, guitar's bad. Yeah.
It was. It's just like you gotta. If you're gonna be a professional guitar builder,
you have to sell them.
I remember you talking about.
You have to have a little money left over when you're done.
I remember you talking about the fact that it costs the same, it takes the same amount of time to build all those. So you have lesser expensive models, but you spend the same amount of time building them as you do the more expensive models. So
it's a tough question to ask when you're building out a business and a line and a brand. When people go, how come this guitar costs more than that guitar? And I go, no, you're asking the wrong question. You need to be asking, how come this guitar costs less than that guitar?
Right.
Because it's that more expensive one where we make the money, and we're just selling the less expensive one, which takes as much to make as we're selling it to get you into our door, to gain a customer, to get some market share, to have a company where we're making and selling and making and selling. And
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. The guitar's smaller, Bob. It should be cheaper.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about the jumbo shape. So you brought back the jumbo shape in 2 models. So the 855, the 12-string, and the 815. What was your inspiration to bring that guitar back? That shape?
I would say the 855, the 12-string, kept us alive for the first several years we were in business, because in those days there were players like John Fahey, Leo Kottke, Gordon Lightfoot, John Denver. 12-string was very popular on the radio. I mean, it really was. And they all played these big Guild guitars. John Denver went through a lot of different. There was the Gibson 12-strings. Gordon Lightfoot was famous for playing one of those and lost one, and it became. And the same thing happened with Leo Kottke. He had a Gibson 12-string of some model. I still don't know Gibson models. I'm sorry, I just don't. But it fell off stage and broke, and he never played 12-string again for 20 years. And then one day he bought a 555 Taylor 12-string mahogany, store in Florida, I believe it was. And he called me on the phone. He goes, I've been playing this guitar that I bought last week, and I'm putting it back in my show tomorrow night. Tomorrow night it's going back. He goes, I haven't played a 12-string for 20 years live. I'm like, you're kidding me. And no one, I'm not, he still was the 12-string king, even though he'd spent like
Totally.
all those years not playing 12-string, and that guitar got him back in. But if you think of those old photos of Neil Young in
Yeah.
Must Never Sleeps, holding that 855 up there, we sold a lot of those guitars through a lot of places, but it was Fred Wallachy at Westwood Music in Westwood, which is like by Hollywood, by UCLA in Los Angeles, and he was selling guitars at that time to all the people in Laurel Canyon that were inventing the new music, the new record companies like Geffen or A&M
Yeah.
and the Eagles and Jackson Brown and the Flying Burrito Brothers and the Mamas and the Papas and all this. They'd come down and buy guitars from him, and he financed those guys. He'd like, here's a guitar, come every Friday and pay me some money. Every one of those super famous bands that came out of there just revere Fred Wallachy.
I love that you mentioned the Flying Burrito Brothers.
I
Yeah.
love
the
that.
Flying
Yeah.
Burrito Brothers.
All of that stuff.
What are
And
you
so-
listening to? The Flying
Yeah.
Burrito Brothers.
Well,
Tonight,
so
I will
always-
be.
those,
yeah.
those 12 strings, that 855 was an important guitar for us. And at the American Dream, Sam Radding made a jumbo, and that's where I started. I still wasn't completely chill to the tip that Guild had the big jumbos. I just was, my eyeballs looked at my workbench, my ears listened to AM radio, and I just made guitars in the shapes that I sort of had inherited from Sam. And so had to bring that one back, and the 815 too. The 815 was one of the first guitars I saw on TV, and Bjorn was playing it on Wolfman Jack's Midnight Special when ABBA
So good.
was on. And I'm like me and Kurt are calling each other at 1 a.m. going, ABBA's playing one of our guitars. And then this group called Firefall ended up with a jumbo of ours, Mustache Bridge. It was a custom one we'd made for Westwood Music. It was maple back and sides with a redwood top, and they got that guitar and they were playing it on like the Don Kirchner's rock concert and Midnight Special with Wolfman Jack. That's where we saw guitars on TV. Those were the days. Those were like, and that was way beyond American Graffiti days. That's still 20 years later, but it was still happening like that. That's where you'd see a guitar, and our jumbos just appeared and appeared and appeared all over the place. And
I think
those people in Laurel Canyon loved our guitars because they were easy to play.
Yeah, I mean, guitars in general in that era. If you think about, I don't know how many of our watchers have played a lot of 50s and 60s guitars. I spent almost 20 years in a guitar shop and played, I don't know, tens of thousands of guitars probably as a tech and as a sales manager who bought and sold vintage guitars all the time. And if you played a lot of like 40s, 50s, 60s guitars, first of all, it's hard to play a lot of them because a lot of them aren't around. They fall apart very easily. Most of them don't have truss rods. Some of them have what's called a steel reinforced neck, but it's not adjustable in any way. And they tend to have, very hard to play necks for one reason or another. Either they've warped over time, or a lot of makers were just making big, thick necks because a thicker piece of wood is less likely to go, warp like crazy. And Taylors were really stable. They're thin and easy to play. I've mentioned before, I have a 79 510 here, which is my birth year guitar, and I've searched for it for like ever before I finally found one. It had its first ever neck reset a couple years ago. I shipped it back to the factory, and McGargle, sent it through, and everybody, they did a neck reset and a refret on it, and I think that's the first time ever. But very, very stable necks, thin, easy to play, and holds up. And on a 12 string in that era, 12 string necks are, on old guitars are kind of horrible. A lot of times they're very thick, and they're very, if you're me and you have 8 pans, that's maybe not as bad, but for most people, they're kind of unplayable a lot of times. Like, they're extremely hard to play. and they start to get a little high action or anything like that, and you know, it's bad. So I think, I mean, and I guess in my estimation, I imagine, because I've played some of those older 855s and things, and I think about the guitars that people had been coming out of those like late 60s and early 70s 12 strings and what was around at the time and how those things played. Even some of, you know, there's another brand that I know of that made a whole run of a particular model where like the bridge is in the wrong place, and it has to, like, you know, modern buyers have them moved by really good guitar techs, like have the bridge literally moved on the guitar because it's just not in the right spot. The guitar will never intonate right. Like,
wow.
Guitars weren't, you know, even the major ones were not as good as we make them, you know, as brands make them today. So you know,
And
Everybody
on top-
makes better guitars today. And if we just go
Yeah.
back to the time machine, back in those days, let's say the 60s, Martin was probably making 500 guitars a year. They weren't as big of a company as Collings is now, right?
Wow.
And so Martin, you know, really had, you know, during the Peter, Paul and Mary and the folk boom and the 70s all the way up to when disco hit the scene, Martin just grew and grew and grew. I saw a reel where Chris Martin was saying, I saw it last year, and he was saying in maybe it's, I can't remember the dates, but like 1979, we sold 20,000 guitars. And in 1980, we had a hard time selling 3,000 guitars. I mean, it just crashed at that point. But so when you think of a whole world that's playing guitars, you got to hand it to Martin. They made good guitars. They really made good guitars. Yeah, their action was high, their necks were big, but those were still good guitars.
sure.
Really good guitars.
And there was 500 or 1,000 of them a year available to serve the entire United States. So they were a brand, and they were really something, but there weren't that many. So if any of the viewers or any of you guys want to see something go blow your socks off as far as guitars that were available, go on YouTube and search for the audition for the Monkees.
I've seen those.
Monkees. And first of all, I have to say, that was an awesome show. Secondly, they picked the right four guys. Totally. And thirdly, when they played guitars, you're like, what is that piece of crap guitar? And that was the kind of guitars that people had in those days. Awful, terrible, awful guitars. Awful.
Yeah.
And that was the norm.
A lot
And
of
you could see
K's
it on
and
those-
silver tones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, Bob. I was telling a story. We went to Nashville to introduce the Gold Label guitars to some artists, and we had one critique, and it was by Stephen Curtis Chapman's son, Caleb.
Uh-huh.
And Caleb looks at the camera, and he looks directly in the camera, just like this. He's like, I got a piece of criticism for Taylor. Taylor doesn't know how to make a bad guitar. And he goes, and sometimes in Nashville, we want a bad guitar.
It's true.
And it's true. It's true. He plays his dad's old 910 until now. He found a Gold Label, and he fell in love with it. It's great.
By the way, I got to
Yeah.
shout Stephen Curtis Chapman because I saw him like, I don't know, 4 years ago or something.
Yeah.
Live, solo. Man, can that guy play guitar?
He's a ripper. He is
can
so
play.
good.
He used to be on those big stages with his 1980s, mullet,
Yeah.
band and all the lights, and every song was arranged and had their push. I saw him do acoustic sets, unplugged of those songs. You're like, you don't miss the band. It's just, he's so good. And I
He's
talked to him
so
backstage,
good.
like, you've been practicing. He's like, yeah, I guess,
I mean, he's so good. He's so good. So, real quick before we move on, breaking news. We have 3 more legacy guitars to talk about. The 514 CE, 714 CE, and then in just a second we'll get to the 914 CE. Bob, these are hit makers. That's what we call them. That's what I call them in my world of music makers. The 514 CE has been known for making some of the best acoustic hits on the planet, writing some of the best songs. It's just that guitar did something special in the studio, and its older brother will say, just because of the number, the 714. The 714 CE is also just spruce, rosewood, spruce mahogany. Why are these guitars so special, and why does the world need them again?
I'm going to start with a little story. It was a Nashville NAMM show. We had our guitars. We had a small booth. The 514 CE had been out for a year, so maybe this is the second year we're showing that guitar. And this guy was sitting on one of our stools, just strumming the guitar, strumming it, strumming it, strumming it. Hi, Daria. And just strumming this guitar. And then I walked up and he goes, "Hey, y'all Bob Taylor?" And I go, "Yeah." I go, "I'm Bob Taylor." He goes, "I just have to tell you, this guitar is so good." And I go, "Really? Yeah. Why do you think? What do you like about it?" And he never quit strumming. He goes, "Well, I'm a studio musician here in Nashville, and I do this." He just keeps playing. "I do this 8 hours a day, and this guitar does this better than any guitar I ever had." Right? And I think a lot of what people like about it is that it's easy to track. It's easy to amplify. It's great for strumming. It's great for finger style, and it just found its way into studios and onto stages because it wasn't too much. It wasn't too boomy. It was clear. It was lightweight. The neck was right. And music's going a little bit of a different way than that right now. But that guitar, if you don't, that 514 CE is kind of a must-have. I have one.
Yeah, it's a must-have. That's a guitar. That's a hit maker.
For everybody in the watching, I was telling our group here that mine, which is sitting back here, just turned 20. My very first Taylor, and still play it all of the time. Like
514 CE. The amount of people, Bob, artists that I talk to, Daria is a good one, right? Daria is a 514 CE, 714 CE. We always try and get to the Taylor story, right? What's your Taylor story? Interestingly, when we took gold label guitars to Nashville, most of the players that we got to play these guitars and discover these guitars for the first time on camera were not Taylor players now, right? But of them, besides Caleb and Curtis Chapman, Caleb Chapman, yeah, that's it. Besides him, he got his hand-me-down, his dad's 910. That was the hand-me-down for him, so that's his Taylor story. He was a Taylor guy, tried and true. But the rest of them all kind of left, and they went a Nashville way of things. Martins, Gibsons, whatever. Every single one of them had a Taylor story. Every single one of them had a Taylor story. And a bulk of the stories were 514 CE or 714 CE. Those guitars are special. Daria's favorite guitar of all time, 714 CE.
Yeah, Steven's got a 510 that's really old. And
Yeah.
he's played the daylights out of that guitar. But let me explain a little something from my point of view after watching for 50 years. Taylor Guitars was symbiotic with the rise of fingerstyle guitar and the rise of acoustic guitar in pop music. And before that, there was an acoustic guitar in pop music. And I would include Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young and Eagles and Springsteen into pop music, right? But there really wasn't acoustic guitars on tracks in there. But all things change. And right now there's like a big influx, I would say, or what people are interested in is more of like roots music. And sometimes in Nashville, we need a bad guitar. Sometimes in Nashville, we need a louder guitar. And so the cool thing about us is we can respond to those. So, if we just kept making 514 CEs, we're not going to be making the guitar that a lot of musicians want right now. That guitar bloomed like crazy for 30 some years. It really, really helped people. But now we're going, okay, well, where's music going? where's the style of guitar going? What kind of music is it being played in? And Andy's responding with Gold Label, and I'm responding with Legacy, and I'm even revoicing some of the models right now to be a little bit more like what somebody wants right now. So I've done a slight alteration to my 810, and I've got one now that's just, it's right back there, and it's made me start playing guitar again. You know, it's better.
That's inspiring.
It's better than my 50-year-old one. You know?
That's inspiring.
Yeah.
So let's dive into some questions. I know we have one more, right? We have the 914 CE. But like I said early in the show, Jim and Bob, Jim Curlin, who's our editorial director, right, of Wood and Steel magazine, and Bob Taylor had a sit down and they talked at length about the 914 CE. So I'm going to hold that for you guys. I'm going to link it in the comments after the show so that you guys can watch that. We took some time with the help of Gabe over here and Mike Venezia. We curated some questions from the Taylor Guitars Owners Group. We have a handful, just 3 questions we're going to ask. Mike's is a 2-part question. And then again, if we have time at the end, we'll field some questions from the viewers in the chat over here. But Mike, what a good opportunity to segue into that first question. It's so good. We just got to hit it. Let's go for it.
Yeah, not only that, but the second part of the first question too.
The second part of the first question is so good. I know
It's
it just
very
naturally
germane.
works out
Yes.
that way with Bob.
All right, Bob. So parts 1 and 1A come from the Taylor forums. David M. writes that he's a long-term Taylor fan. And what he would really like to know is your opinion on the amount of offerings in our current lineup. To use his words, in his opinion, we have too much going on. We have, he cites V-Class bracing, then fan V-Class bracing, and then the return of X bracing with the Legacy Collection as examples of this. But why is it important for all 3 of these bracing patterns to exist?
Because music is diverging right now. It's going in a lot of ways. There's people that are going to be holdouts for the tone we made in the past. There's people that are looking for something different than us, different than what they've had from us. I don't know how to say that. People's musical experience on guitar playing is blossoming. I'll tell you that people play guitar way, way, way better than they did in 1975. I mean, everybody plays guitar really well now, and
Right.
they get there fast, and then they move down one of the veins of music that they want. So let's say a V-Class guitar, if you want straight out of the sound hole punch and you want intonation that's absolutely perfect, you know, if you're one of those, that guitar works great for you. If you love a rich, round, full, like the 810 that I've just been revoicing, that guitar, a lot of times what gives, this is my opinion, what gives beautiful tonality or timbre to a note is irregularities in the tone, right? I was reading a thing that Brian Wilson said once yesterday. He said, or I was reading it yesterday. Brian Wilson said this from the Beach Boys, great producer, great songwriter, great arranger, a legend. He goes, when the digital tuner, the individual owning a digital tuner that plays a guitar was invented and everybody bought one, music got thinner because everybody was in perfect tune. And he said, you can't, if you want your music to be bigger, it can't be perfect, right? And then he says, take a symphony, for example. Those people aren't in tune. They're not in digital perfect tune. But when you put them all together, it becomes bigger than life. They don't have frets. They're moving back and forth. And so over the years, we discovered that here's a guitar, like, I don't want a guitar that's in perfect tune. My guitar and I'm not saying it's out of tune, because Taylor's always been known for intonation, but when you get it to where it's perfect, and then you get to where you move to Andy's gold label, and he's maintained the tuning, but he's added the richness and the vibrance of, say, an X-Brace guitar. Those guitars are just knocking people's socks off.
Yeah.
And that's what I would say. That's a better guitar. It's a better guitar. Sometimes I think about someone learning to play classical music, and
Yeah.
they start out with a guitar, and then they take lessons. Their teacher says, you're ready for a better guitar, right? And then they buy that university student model, and then they get all the way to where they win a contest, and then their teacher goes, you're ready for a better guitar. And the first one costs what an appliance costs, and the next one costs what a used car costs, and the next one costs what a house costs, right?
Right.
And so you move through all of these things. So I think that we owe it to the world to address all of these. Now, that's one way of answering it. The other way is from the populace. And this is the B section of my first answer. There are dealers and people say you make too many models of guitars. But I am going to tell you one sentence that I've never, ever, ever heard at a trade show or a guitar show. I've never heard this sentence. Show me something that's the same.
Yep.
That
you go.
is true.
I've never heard anybody ever say that ever once. Show me something that's the same. So the same time it gets confusing because we make a lot, people come into our booth or write into us and going, what do you have that's new?
They say, what do you have that's new? What did you do new for this year?
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, part of it is we think we make a lot of guitars too, but when we decide to trim it down to where you can know what we have, you might not like what we have.
It's funny for a marketer on the squad here is
Yeah.
when you have a day where like 26 new guitars come out. It's wild, right? It's like, wait a second, 26 new guitars came out today, and you got to find a way to talk about them, and then you have to find some that are priorities and some that are not priorities, right?
Well, how are guitars different than other things? One, they last forever. I have a 51-year-old 810 back there.
Yeah.
Gabe's got a 1979 510. And so people who love guitars want to buy guitars. They want to have something different. They want to have something new. And everything that I see in the rooms, in the backgrounds of these things, they almost all have a shelf life. Those microphones might last for your whole life, but most things wear out. Most things become obsolete. And there is no replacement time. There's no scheduled time on the calendar where your guitar quits working. My 50-year-old 810, there's no reason that it won't experience a 100th birthday.
That's true.
It doesn't start falling apart. And so when people have 6 guitars, they don't want to go buy the same guitar over again. So it's just the way of the world. We live in a complicated world, and there's a lot of choices.
It's really funny that you say that, and we're gonna move on to the next part of Mike's question here. But it's just like Powers Electric,
Yeah.
Right. Andy, do you know the comment that I love the most about Powers Electric guitars that Andy's made is when people say, "Thank you for making something different."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the electric guitar world, there's a lot of same.
There's
a lot of same, and there's
You've heard
good.
me say that so many times.
Yeah,
You've
there's
got
good same. There's good same. Don't get me
50
wrong.
of the same model,
right?
in different colors.
Like an Anderson Telly versus a Fender Telly.
Yeah.
That Tom Anderson Telly is pretty dang good. You know what I mean? That is just wild, right? But there's a history there. There's a history building at Fender, and there's all this kind of stuff. But it's, we say similar things. We've all said it. We've heard it. Collings. I mean, Bob, you knew Bill Collings. You spoke at his funeral. You know what I mean? You guys were dear, 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 dear friends. And my goodness, you've heard what people say. You want to get a really high end Martin. buy a Collings, right? Like the Collings, Bill Collings could do stuff. You've told me stories. He could do stuff that no one else could do. So I love that there's a place for all of these. Mike, you want to continue?
I do indeed. And this kind of leans into what we were talking about in our Dreadnought discussion prior to starting these questions up. Bill D writes, in the past, when Bob, when you've been asked why Taylor stopped making square shoulder dreadnoughts, you said something to the effect of, a square shoulder dreadnought is a Martin guitar. We want to build Taylor guitars. Is that still the case? Example, is the Legacy A10E a limited time production, or has that ideology been reconsidered?
Changing my mind. I love square shoulder dreadnoughts. I want to make it. I took it away from myself, and I just want to make that guitar.
There you go.
I love it.
Nothing else needs to be said.
There's nothing. There's no more to it than that. I love that guitar. I want to make it.
You know, one of my favorite square shoulder dreadnoughts that you made, Bob, is your nephew Taylor Dwyer's. He's got one that's just awesome.
It's just a regular old 510.
I know,
like Gabe's is, and he's played it to absolute death, and it sounds good. And on his 15th birthday, it was a blam, a second. And so we couldn't sell it to a dealer because whatever was wrong with it. And it just was a good guitar. It's just, he plays it. That's a guitar you'd die before you sell it. You just wouldn't sell that guitar.
I love it.
But I want to say something. Jay, I know you've heard me say this. When I give somebody a tour of Taylor guitars, I'll often say at the beginning, what I'm going to show you today is Taylor guitars today. I'm not going to show you yesterday's Taylor guitars, and I'm not going to show you tomorrow's Taylor guitars. I'm going to show you today's Taylor guitars. And I just feel that way, and that's why even if 5 years ago or 6 or whenever we quit making that, I said, hey, it's a Martin shape. We want to make Taylor guitars. Yeah, that's true. This is also true. I miss that guitar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it. Gabe, do you want to ask the next question?
Sure. Tom R, our friend also asks, what's the long-term forecast for the supply and availability of rare woods like sinker, redwood? How much of it is there, and is it high enough quality for Taylor standards to be built, up to Taylor standards? And what other alternative wood species are you exploring right now, like chamois and red ironbark, that kind of thing?
It's really hard to get a new wood on the market because you've got to find a wood, and it won't be available unless you buy it, and you're not going to buy it unless it's available, right? So you have to dance around each other for almost 10 years. It takes us 10 years to get a new and a different wood on the market. And it starts out by, hey, this wood seems like it might be available, comes from wherever. So we're going to buy a little bit of it. Then we're going to make a limited run of 50 guitars and see if people like it. Then we'll see if we can market it and sell it. You can make a guitar out of almost any kind of wood there's a lot more wood that falls into acceptable tone wood category than we use for making guitars right now. But if you use them, for example, if we started making white oak guitars, that's an incredible tone wood. We might not be able to get it.
Right.
And maybe people will be like, an oak guitar? I don't know that I want an oak guitar. Chamois is a lot like that, right? And chamois was easy to get on because they're street trees right here, Southern California. So we could buy them one log at a time. We don't have to go to a foreign country. Let me answer about sinker redwood. We don't know how much sinker redwood there is available because it's sunken. Right? And literally,
Fair point.
and literally, those sinker tops come from a log that would be upset, say, in the Mendocino River at the mouth of the ocean, and a storm. The rules are, the laws are, a storm has to bring that thing up and dislodge it, and then the prospectors, the salvage guys who have their ear to the grindstone, have done it before, they do things right. The state of California and the bureaucracies like them, they are able to bid on that piece and they get it out and then they cut until that tree's gone. If it's a big tree, it makes a lot of tops. And so there's a limited supply of it, and that supply is still going. But it's ironic that we don't really know what's sunken and what's going to come up. We can't mine them. We can't float balloons on them. We can't do what they do in Lake Superior, where they actually go down and dive for them and pull them out and pull all this cool wood out. There's still a good supply of wood. It's getting harder. It's getting more expensive.
Right.
Things like rosewood, Indian rosewood, they use it as tea plantation shade trees. So there seems to be a sustainable supply of that. We have koa still. Koa is great. It's one of the best tone woods. It grows in America, and we're planting it like crazy.
Crazy.
We've planted 40,000 of them. We've reforested at least that many. It's growing. It grows. So all we need is a bridge to get 25 or 30 years, and we keep finding little pockets here and there where we can do our reforestry efforts at the same time that we take some wood out, leave a better place. So that was pretty able to be cultivated. Things like sapele might become harder to get.
Sure.
Mahogany. What a lot of people don't know, they hear about our Fiji mahogany, which is mahogany the Brits planted, but they also planted it in India. And all of our mahogany guitars, the back and sides, they're essentially made out of street trees, which, we don't make a big marketing deal about that, but there's an unbelievable supply of that in India and Fiji. So we're feeling good about it. Overall, we feel very good. And it would take me an hour to go through every species, but let's not worry yet.
I love it. And I got the third and final question. This is a good one. Jeremy D writes, "You've built what many consider the most innovative guitar company in the past 50 years. With the new Legacy collection, we're seeing a blend of Taylor's history with forward-thinking design on Gold Label series. It feels like the brand's entering a new chapter that honors its roots while continuing to evolve. If you could look 100 years into the future, what would you hope Taylor guitars would become? And what would you want your personal legacy to be?"
Well, you know that we're an employee-owned company now. And I believe that everybody you see on the screen here, including me, cares about this company, right? And we work at making it be what it has been. What are the attributes of Taylor that I'm particularly proud of? Well, we make good guitars. That's a given. But to be a company that cares about the employees and the suppliers and the customer and the dealers and the trees in the forest and the environment, if we continue to do all of those things and don't just start shifting over to only worrying about sales growth and production growth, then I think the company will be fine. There's only so much I can do to leave something behind, to leave a legacy behind. But we spoke about Bill Collings recently. I'm proud of Bill because he left behind a bunch of people in that company who give a care.
They do. They do.
And I think that we can do that too. I mean, when you go there, you've got these people that when I go to callings, it's like these guys really care, and they're continuing on and doing good work. And so I see that happening with Taylor as well. 100 years from now, I think we'll still be here. You know, I think that we said, Andy and I have both said it years ago, 5, 6 years ago, maybe when we were transitioning to employee ownership, that we believe that while Apple might not be around in 100 years,
Yeah.
we think that Taylor will, because we make a thing that's not easily replaced. And now I hear about Intel laying off, 40 some thousand people and things, high tech can go away. AI can replace a lot of things, but AI can't replace a guitar, and wood isn't going to be replaced. We can still use wood. So I think that we have an organic company that helps people play music, helps play their story. And I think that we'll keep making better guitars. They're not going to end up looking like the bar scene from Star Wars. They're still going to look like guitars, but there's new things on the way. And I love the ingenuity, the creativity, and the playfulness that we have with our guitars. We're not afraid to try things. We try and think them through. We try and put some good stuff on the market. And that's just part of our DNA. And I think you guys here with me, Gabe and Mike and Jay, you see it every day here.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah, it's a special place to be around. That's for sure. When things are tough, we figure it out, and tough decisions are made sometimes that that are out of your control. But you have to trust that the people around you are looking out for your best interest or for others' best interest. I could say one of the most inspiring things that I've seen in the last couple of years, Bob, truthfully, is this legacy collection. You got inspired to build guitars again.
Oh yeah,
and that's incredible. And to go back
I
to
have 15 prototypes in this room right now.
I know. It's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah.
And that's exciting because Gabe, how many years have we worked together? You and I have really worked together for like 7, right?
7 or 8
years. 7 or 8. Daria, who's in the feed over here, we've worked together for 7 or 8 years,
and
9 years.
And I've known Mike longer than that.
Right. We've known,
Wow.
Mike previous to this place was managing bands, and now he's here, and there's so much stuff. We're all so inspired by Bob. But Gabe, real talk, how many times have we been like, hey, Bob, can we film you, just fake film you building a guitar? And Bob, you would always say, no, I haven't done that in years. Well, now you're building guitars, which is fun and inspiring. We won't film you, I promise. But just the fact that you are doing it, and there's room for all of these instruments to exist, new gold label legacy models, prototypes that Bob's working on. Maybe we'll see the future of those sooner than later.
Builder's Edition, V-Class.
Builder's Edition, V-Class, Fanned V-Class,
Yeah.
I mean, and then we have our world famous GS Mini. Let's just talk about a GS Mini, north of 500,000 GS Minis built, right? Playing in the hands of people. That's brilliant. It's amazing that we can do this. I really wanted to keep this show at about an hour and 30 minutes. And I know that we didn't get a lot of questions from the feed over here, because you guys do a good job and just listen to Bob talk, because it's inspiring to hear him answer our questions that we have curated for him.
Can I ask a back end or a tagging on to what you just said kind of follow-up question?
I'd love that, Gabe, and then we'll wrap at that. We'll wrap with that. Sorry, we're not going to get into any questions over here on the feed, but Gabe, ask your question.
It's really about legacy collection and
Yeah.
and about the legacy of building guitars, and what Jay was just saying, and the fact that it's such a full circle thing. You start off your career largely teaching yourself to build guitars, wholly teaching yourself to build guitars, and then as Taylor scales up, you're learning how to build factories and how to manage employees and how to build a company and, you know, getting into wood conservation and building all these things. Does it feel like such a full circle thing to you now to with the legacy collection and jumping back in and getting inspired to build again? Does that feel like such a full circle thing to, you know, I'll get asked a lot of times about work I do in video production and in audio, like, oh, is filming your favorite thing or is editing your favorite thing? Well, I like all of it because I don't get bored. I'm the worst person in the world if I'm bored. You don't want to be around me because I'm just rooting around for things to do. Like your career has had this, you know, such an expansion, making a in the guitar world a very, you know, big company. And now you're back to, you know, okay, I'm going to mess around with bracing again. Like, you know, does that feel like a big full circle thing for you and feel exciting?
Feels super exciting, and especially when I get to hear the results of what of the ones that turn out really good. I'm not the kind of builder that Andy is. Andy can kind of think a guitar into existence. You know, I'm going to do this, and this is what it's going to do. And I'm a little bit more like, I have some ideas. Let's just try them. You know,
Yeah.
and then the other thing that's happened since I've spent some time away from actually hands-on building guitars and us having lots of different models is I've settled in very comfortably to what it is I like in the sound of a guitar. And I realize that it's such an individual thing. You know, there are times when I pick up a couple guitars and I go, this one is a better guitar. It's a better guitar. But this one I like more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
100%.
And
It's called
so
swagger.
what's that?
It's called swagger. Sometimes
It's
guitars just have a thing. I
yeah, so
get it,
that's what
Bob.
I'm exploring with the guitars I'm making now. I have a guitar, one of these two guitars back here. They're a little bit different, but one of them, just when I play it, I can't quit playing it because the notes just, they melt me. They melt my heart. The tone of the notes. I love how it sounds, and it's the one that I want to make because I know that there are other people that are going to feel that way about it too. And so then I've been thinking, well, you know, why wouldn't somebody always buy the better guitar? Well, if they like another one, you know, you don't have to buy this one that's textbook better or that a better player says it's better guitar. So I started thinking you should buy the guitar for today. Don't buy a guitar for the future you. For the future you, it's kind of like buying jeans that you think you're going to lose weight and then fit in, right? You know, and it's like, now buy the jeans that fit, you know, and I feel like there's nothing more comfortable than that. And if I picked up one of these guitars and play it right now, it'd just be like, you know, my speaker can't, or my mic on my iPad can't pick it up. I don't know, maybe it can, but it's just when I take a pick and I play a G chord and I just strum and sing a song, I feel like I've got a an accompanist with me
Yeah.
that's playing. It's me, but it almost feels like somebody else, and they brought a good guitar, you know, that just sounds exactly the way I want it to sound. And I know that there are a lot of people that play like I do. You know, I'm not the greatest player. I have a pretty good right hand, and I have good timing, and I can change chords, and I can strum well. And man, I love that guitar. Am I trying to make a guitar for something else other than that? Not today. And so, can you see it? This is super exciting for me, and that's what I mean by making guitars again. You know, and I can do it pretty quick. We can discuss it. I've got a luthier that a young guy that I've been training for a while, Eric Gallum, and he's working side by side with me. and he can gather the parts, and we can work on bracing together, and then he puts it together. So when you picture Bob making guitars again, I'm not really there 8 hours a day doing that, but I'm super involved in all of the steps, working on something. Let's do some things together. Okay, make me another guitar like this one. You want me to help you pick the wood or pick it like this, and then bring it. Let's see if it sounds just like the last one we made. Because if we can't make them consistently, then we got to figure that part out. So that's what I'm doing, and I love it. I just love it, and I'm enjoying being confident that that sound I'm working on is going to capture the ear of some people.
Yeah. I think it's really special. I was driving up and back to LA with Andy Powers a few months back. And I'm driving back, and I just had to ask him the question. I said, "Hey, what would you be doing if you weren't building guitars?" And he said, "Probably," in that very Andy, deliberate kind of, I'm going to think this answer out. He goes, "Probably building guitars."
Guitars, yeah. That's my answer all the time.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you just got the answer from Bob. Bob, what are you going to do after you're done building guitars? I'm going to build more guitars. That's
I'm
it.
going to build guitars.
I love it.
Guitars.
It is so.
I would get a job to be able to build guitars.
I know, right? And it's like I could leave Taylor, but I don't know if I could leave Taylor. You know what I mean? I can't. Daria and I talk about music all the time. I can't get away from music, right? I can't get away from it. We have to bring music to the world.
Yeah.
How are we bringing music to the world at Taylor? We create a tool that helps people dream their music onto paper or onto record. It's a brilliant thing that we're doing, right? Daria and I talk about that all the time. We have to get music into people's lives more. Andy Powers is quoted by saying, "When music shows up, good things happen."
Yeah. Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Bob Taylor has been on the show tonight. Hey, by the way, just a second real quick. I can't go out without saying, breaking news. Bob Taylor has been on the show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Mike, what does this mean?
That means we have now completed 120 things. 120 shows rounded out by Bob Taylor saying that he used to build guitars. He still does, but he used to as well. So it's
oh, Mitch Hedberg.
Oh, yes. I got to get a Mitch Hedberg quote in there.
You got to get a Mitch Hedberg quote in there. Used to too. Still do, but I used to too.
Yes.
Bob is always an interesting guest, very thoughtful in his approach. It is very thoughtful. We're also glad he spelled his last name Taylor, and Kurt thought it was a good name to put on the headstock. So, ladies and gentlemen,
could have been Listug.
Could have been Listug Guitars, but it's not. It's Taylor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us on this Tuesday. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. What did I say? August 27th?
Well, August 26th is Andy Lund.
August 26th, Andy Lund is our next show. We were going to take all of August off, but we didn't. We did 2 back-to-back shows, did a show last week, did a show this week. We're taking off until August 26th. And on August 26th, we will come back with Andy Lund.
That'll be an awesome one.
And there will be somebody in my chair because I will be on the road. So.
You will be on the road. So Andy Lund, Gabe, Jordan, and me.
Right on.
All right, we just designed the
scary
show.
foursome right there.
I'd watch that show.
I'd watch that show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Thanks again, Bob. It's always a pleasure having you on the show. We are so excited that you're building guitars.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, have a good night. Wait a second. I might have an asset. Oh, yeah. Ready?
Breaking news?
No. This one. Ready? Here's a good one. Thank you.
Hey, look at that.
There it is.
All right. Bye.
This is your new thing to play with on the show.
It's so good.